to Beyond the Campfire. I am one of your hosts, Stephen the Indian, alongside our faithful, rambunctious cowboy. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, Will the cowboy. And yeah, we're a cowboy and Indian that talks about ghosts, conspiracy theories, cryptids, strange, weird things, all of that. Anything you would, maybe want to tell around a campfire.
Yeah.
So, if you like that kind of content, be sure to give us a follow, subscribe. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us at Beyond Campfire or at Beyond Campfire Podcast. And yeah, be sure to find us there. But without further ado, Mr. Will, what you got for us today?
Well, today we're heading into my backyard. It's not really Steven's backyard. Steven's closer to Tennessee and northern South Carolina, South Kakalaki. But today we're heading to South Kakalaki in the great old town of Charlestown, which is what it used to be called. Now it's called Charleston, where we're actually be talking about a very historical building. What's really cool is we are celebrating America's 250, and this building has been around for a long time, like since back, like we were under the occupation of the British that far back. Well, not the building, the property, more or less. Sorry, Stephen cut out there for a second. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the famous Dock Street Theater. It is still operated today. They still have plays there. You can go see Hamilton. I don't know. But, nice little place. So the way I'm going to break up this episode for you guys, there's people that want to get to the hauntings. I'm going to tell you when those are. And so the way we're going to break this down is we're going to go into the history of the building, which will just kind of tell the story of the place, who frequented the place. And then we're going to get into the hauntings, because in the hauntings, that's where we're going to get into the stories of the people who are supposedly haunting the place. And one of those stories, I think, is by far, I think, one of my favorite stories on Beyond the Campfire. And then, of course, after that, we've got me and Steven encountering cryptids, or encountering the ghost of this place, with a writing story from our writer friend who has been writing stories for us. She's our ghost writer. But without further ado, are you ready, Scooby-Doo?
Let's do it, man.
All right. So the Dock Street Theater, like I said, it predates and goes back to colonial occupation. We're under the British rule. And the building was first opened on February 12th, 1736, with a performance of George Farquhar's play, The Recruiting Officer. Hopefully I said Farquhar's. He's Irish. It's hard. Where in this play, if you're wondering what was going on in this play was a rom-com, maybe. I only got the plot. I think it sounds like a rom-com. I think there's some ladies out there that would be like, hell yes, make this a movie. So the play follows the social and sexual exploits of two English officers, the womanizing plume, and the what was he called? The cowarding brazier, where they are located in Shrewsbury, England. If you don't know what Shrewsbury is, apparently the guy who wrote this play was actually captured by the British at one point and was held in Shrewsbury. So he decided to write this wonderful play. So if you like the idea of English officers being sexually exploited, some womanizing going on and some cowards, this might be the play for you. It's like Love Island.
Love Island, English, old-timey edition.
With two soldiers getting sexually exploited. So not much is really known about this sort of pre-colonial era with the Dock Street Theater. It was actually the first building in America built exclusively to be used for theatrical performances. So it's kind of got that sort of title. Like the original Dock Street Theater was the first building in America for theater performance, right? Flora, the first opera performance in America, took place at this theater. Pretty cool. So the first opera performance in America was right in Charlestown. That's right, folks. Come on down. We got opera. You like ladies dressed like Vikings and breaking glasses? Come on down, man. We got it. But I got sad news.
Oh, man. Not the sad news.
In 1740, on November 18th, it became what is known as the Great Fire of 1740.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Not that.
So the fire started in the Hatter shop and it quickly spread. If you don't know, fires back then were very dangerous. I actually learned a cool fact. Did you know that fire stations and fire departments did not become a thing until after the Civil War?
Oh, I did not know that.
There was no such thing as the fire brigade until after the Civil War.
What did they do when there was fires before then?
You had these guys. I think I had the name down. They were called like fire marshals kind of thing. So all they would do is they would literally just come in your house, inspect your chimney, make sure that your chimney couldn't start a fire. And if there was a fire, they would ring their little bell, ding, 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 ding. And then everyone would be like, oh, we got to form our bucket bridge. And if you don't know what a bucket bridge, you ever heard of the human centipede? Just imagine a bunch of people standing in a line, passing a bucket back and forth. So I'd pass it to Steven, Steven would pass it to our editor, Haley. Haley would pass it to our camera guy, Paul, and then we'd pour it on the fire. And then the bucket would come back, Paul, Haley, Steven, me. I'd fill it up and then it'd keep going. So you could see how this was a terrible idea. Because this fire destroyed nearly half the town. Because another problem with colonial America is building streets were very narrow and everything was made of wood. So you're asking for it at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you light a match that gets too close to one thing. It's the whole town is going to be affected now, right? So
yeah. Well, in 24 hours, guess how many buildings were completely burned?
It's got to be way more than dozens.
300.
300. Yeah. So you're getting
300.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, most of these could have been destroyed because the way they tried to contain this fire in 1740 was by demolishing homes and then breaking up the dirt to create fire breaks to hopefully try to stop the spread. So some of the homes were also probably destroyed by the city. And unfortunately, the Dock Street Theater was one of those buildings. Pretty sad.
So this place is not here anymore.
Well, I got good news.
Oh, okay.
Gave
us the bad news first. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So on the site of the old Dock Street Theater in 1809, the current building that sits there today was constructed, and it became known as the Planters Hotel. Okay. I will kind of explain planters in just a second if you're wondering what a planter is, because I actually learned a cool new term. So, and then in 1835, when you look at the building, it's got these beautiful sandstone columns and that were kind of matched the street facade of Church Street. That was also the street that caught on fire. And there's also a wrought iron balcony that was added in 1835. So when you look at the building today, there's this beautiful wrought iron balcony, and it's going to be a part of our story. So you need to remember that wrought iron balcony. A lot of the people that did
called wrought iron balcony.
Yeah, like wrought iron,
Gotcha,
like
yeah.
like kind of like cast iron.
Okay.
There's cast iron and there's wrought iron. It's it's just the type of iron. Let's see. Yeah, so it's named Planters Hotel because the reason why, because most of the people that came to stay here were called planters. If you don't know what a planter is, it's actually a social class. And it's just people who own plantations. They were called planters. They would come into Charlestown for racing, like horse races, and they would stay at the Planters Hotel. And that actually becomes a pretty well, like that, knowing that social class will come in with one of our stories later, because the main ghost of this place, like her story, like I said, it's one of my favorite stories I think we had on this podcast. The planters kind of play a little bit into that, but like I said, it was a hotel, and it had some famous people in this 19th century that actually stayed there. Do you want to take a guess who one of these famous people are?
All right, the time period is, you said 1800s?
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln. I don't know.
No.
John.
Junius Brutus Booth.
Oh, okay. So
do you know who Junius Brutus Booth is?
Is he the granddad or the dad of John Wilkes Booth or something like that?
He's the father of actors Edwin and John Wilkes Booth.
Look at that. Look at that.
John Wilkes Booth, daddy, he stayed at the Planters Hotel. As well, during this time period, African American Civil War naval hero and U.S. Congressman Robert Smalls, he stayed there. If you don't know who Robert Smalls is, apparently he stole a steamboat in the harbor and then sailed it out past the Confederate-held Fort Sumter and basically stole a Confederate steamboat and handed it over to the Union fleet.
Oh shoot, that is really hard to pull off, and yet he did it. Look at that.
Now before he did this, like I said, he was I reframe. He did not stay at the hotel. He was actually a waiter in the dining room of the hotel before the war. As well, if you know the name Planters, have you ever heard of Planters Punch?
Sounds familiar.
So Planters Punch. I looked it up because this is kind of a cool fact about the Planters Hotel. They contribute on Wikipedia and everything that they invented Planters Punch. But again, Planters Punch, when you look it up, it could have been from any hotel in Charleston, but also some people say it comes from the Carolina, from Jamaica. But it is a classic Caribbean rum cocktail. It's got dark rum, lime juice, and some kind of sweetener like simple syrup, sugar, or grenadine. And it follows a 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak. Pretty cool little rhyme there. Yeah. So it's like a little rum cocktail, So they claim they invented it.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, whether they actually created it or not, Planters Hotel, Planters, is it juice? You said
it's like a rum cocktail, like a sweetener.
I mean, the name's kind of there, so who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, I got bad news.
Not more bad news, man.
After the Civil War, the hotel fell into disrepair, and they were going to demo it. But don't worry. In 1935, at the height of the Great Depression, Milton Pearlstein made the property available to the city of Charleston. And the mayor, Burnett Maybank, and other notable citizens, they decided to push and make it a work progress administrative project. At that time, so the way this hotel worked was they just kind of built it within the shell of the Planters Hotel. They made the grand foyer of the Planters Hotel into the grand foyer of the theater. The hotel dining room then became the box office lobby. Apparently, Douglas Ellington served as the architectural advisor for the project. Charleston architects Simon and Lapham then supervised the daily work while Ellington was in Washington, D.C. The woodworking and mantels of the second floor drawing room were salvaged from the Radcliffe King Mansion circa 1799. That stood at the corner of George and Meeting Streets and was raised to build the College of Charleston Gymnasium. It was modeled on 18th century London playhouses by Charleston architect and pioneering preservationist Albert Simons. The present Dock Street Theater stagehouse and auditorium were built in the hotel's courtyard. So the hotel had a courtyard. They kind of just added on at that point. Local carpenters, were put to work as a part of the Depression era relief effort. So part of this was also like giving people jobs to kind of get us out of the Depression. So you want to take a guess how much this project cost?
Okay, I know inflation's a thing now.
We'll take it from their time money,
Oh, their time money?
Well, maybe. I don't know if this is our money or their money.
I don't know. Tens of thousands.
Well, first off, they use locally grown and milled native black cypress for the wooden interiors. So they kind of use local Charleston wood. The project cost $350,000.
Okay, I see. Gotcha. So hundreds of thousands, not tens of thousands.
And the grand opening took place on November 26, 1937. Notable people in the audience included author Du Bois Hayward. Do you know that name? No. His name is Porgy. He wrote the novel Porgy. Apparently.
Is it W.E.B. Du Bois or just Du Bois?
Du Bois.
Okay, because I've heard of W.E.B. Du Bois, but I haven't heard of this guy.
No, not this. It's a different guy. So that was the last update, was 1937. It reopened for a third time on March 18th, 2010, after a 3-year, $19 million renovation by the city of Charleston. This full-scale renovation brought the historical theater into the 21st century with state-of-the-art lighting, sound, modern heating and air. It put in new restrooms and seating. They also made it to where it was secured, like if an earthquake hit, it'd be fine. As well, they made it handicap accessible. They also did some soundproofing so that outside noise wouldn't bother people in the theater. Now that this we come full circle with the history, this place is now owned and managed by the city of Charleston. The historical Dock Street Theater is home to many of the city's cultural institutions, including Spoleto Festival USA, Charleston Stage, which became the resident professional theater of the Dock Street Theater in 1978. It produces over 120 performances each season and plays to more than 40,000 patrons annually. And in addition to that, 15,000 South Carolina students enjoy special school day performances offered by the Charleston Stage each year at the historical Dock Street Theater. And there's your history. So to this day, it's still being used.
So it's been a hotel, a theater, like just all kinds of things.
Yeah, so it was originally opened as a theater. We don't know much. Then the fire happened, burned the original building to the ground, and then they rebuilt it as this hotel. And then it was going to get demolished, but then they're like, "Hold up, now this depression. We want to fix some things." So they fixed it up, and then it kind of closed again at some point, and then was reopened in 2010 and got updated to where now they're doing plays for schools, where schools can come in special days. They're holding different performances. It's still being functioned. And one thing I did read, I think it's one of the last on Church Street, one of the last antebellum style buildings on that street. If you don't know that antebellum time period, that's what it's based off of. So
neat. Okay, so I can imagine with all the different things that happened there and all the different kinds of people that walked through there, probably something was stirring not just people's emotions, but maybe something spiritual as well.
We're getting into it. You ready to get to the ghost?
Boy, here we go. Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So as I mentioned, Julius Booth resided there. He was part of a theater troupe, I guess, performing in plays runs in the Booth family. Now, apparently, he haunts the place. Nobody knows why.
John Booth's dad
haunts the Dock Street Theater. Well, here's what's strange. Okay. Apparently, there was a rumor that he got mad at one of the hotel managers and tried to kill him. Yeah. So not only were the Booth family actors, they were violent men. Makes you wonder why one took a shot at Lincoln.
I was about to say, no wonder his son did what he did. Sheesh.
But here's the thing is, besides that, there's nothing really to say why Booth would haunt this place, because Julius Booth didn't even die in Charleston. He died, I believe, let's see. He died in Louisville, Kentucky. So why is he haunting the Dock Street Theater?
Guess he had some unfinished business there, apparently. So.
But again, it could just be mistaken identity. People might be thinking it's Julius, but it could be, somebody else. Let's see. Who else do we have? Now, the most famous ghost, her name is Nettie. And like I said, there are other specters. Like there's some people see a lady in white, you see some apparitions, your usual ghost stuff. Part of Beyond the Campfires, we like to tell stories. And so one of the famous stories of this hotel, we only know of really two named ghosts, Julius Booth and Nettie. So Nettie, her full name is Nettie Dickerson. Okay. She is the most famous ghost. She's known as the Lady in Red because she wears a red dress. We'll get to that soon. But her story, like I said, is chef's kiss. So here's the story of Nettie. So others believe that she didn't actually have a name, and then they just gave her the name Nettie, but she's Nettie Dickerson. So she lived in Charleston during the 1800s, and she spent most of her time at the Planters Hotel. She was not a guest of the hotel. She was sort of a freelancer, she was a prostitute. And she could sometimes be seen gliding around aimlessly through the Dock Street Theater. Some of those who've caught a glimpse of Nettie claim that she wore a tattered yet vibrantly colored red dress. But the question is, what happened to Nettie? Why is she floating around? And, why was she a prostitute? So during the Planters Hotel heyday, when everybody was up partying, a lot of wealthy men of Charleston, like I said, they would come there because they were watching the horses race and they spent plenty of their time there. And they would also, upon being there, they would drink, they would gamble, sleep with women, the prostitutes. And one of these ladies of the night was the 25-year-old Nettie. So she was 25 years old. She was a country girl. She had a dream of city life, marry a rich man and raise a bunch of kiddos. But the problem was she lived in the era where 25 was considered old.
Wow. Okay.
And was considered well past the marrying age. So, she was just a spindler. Because, the men of Charleston were a little weird and they were looking for, teenagers.
Oh, boy.
And aside from her age, her social status, remember how I told you the Planters? The Planters were very wealthy people. And unfortunately, Nettie was not a planter. She was, so it was not only was she too old, but she was also the wrong class. So most men looked past her. Now these, I know, right? She's too old. She's not the right class. Which apparently, according to this, that is actually a stigma that continues in some social circles in Charleston today, is that you've got to be higher status. So
have you ever seen
here's the thing.
Outer Banks?
Yeah, that's in North Carolina.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Something's been going on in the Carolinas, but anyway, all right, go ahead.
Well, so again, though, the men of Charleston, they look at Nettie and they're like, she's too old to marry. She's not the right class, but damn, is she hot. Because she was very beautiful. And so at that point, they did not care for Nettie because, one, she's not the right age, and two, she's not the right social class, but she's hot. So what do you think the men want to do? They want to lust after her. They don't want to love her.
I see. So I can see how she became a prostitute.
Yeah. So her dreams of a better life, this country girl coming on down to the city, those dreams were crushed. And she began to look for work because she came here to this town and all the men want to do is have sex with her. They don't want to marry her because she's not the right class. All she's good for is her looks. And so she started looking for a job. And by looking for a job, she met this priest. And she got along with the priest.
A prostitute and a priest. Oh, boy. Let's see.
Well, she wasn't a prostitute yet.
Oh, okay. She wasn't one yet. I got it.
So let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to. But she still felt like an outcast, even though she was working at the church. She still felt like an outcast. And because of this, she grew tired of trying to get ahead in Charleston and quit her job, despite the priest's efforts to sway her from doing so, begging her not to lose her heart. It was too late. She had enough. So with the money she was able to save from that job at the church, she went to one of the high upscale stores in Charleston and bought herself the most expensive dress they had, which is a pretty red dress that would catch the eye of any man. So not only did she have the looks, she had the dress. I got the shoes. I got the dress. That makes me a prostitute, I guess. So with these new dress and these looks, she strutted herself into the Planters Hotel and said, "Line up, men. It's time to pay up."
Seems like it. I mean, that's what prostitutes do. So,
but now, of course, she was still bitter by the class, so she was doing this kind of in spite. And here was the problem: because they did not like her, still, she was not the right class. She still went to church on Sundays, so she might have been pimping herself out, but at least she was still going to church. Come on now, people. Now, the problem with this.
There you go.
The problem with her going to church, though, is guess who was also at church?
The elites that she slept with.
And their wives.
Oh, well, okay.
So, because of this, the wives kind of knew that their husbands were getting their rocks off with Nettie. So during church, they give her like mean looks, and Nettie is not, she's a confrontational type of woman. So when she'd be standing there in church, she'd be getting that look. She would storm up to those women and their husbands, and she would give them a piece of her mind.
Wow. Yeah.
Now the problem with this is it would cost her some customers.
Yeah, I could see why. You don't.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do something covertly, and yeah,
Well, it's just like imagine like you
Process-
get with the
it is exposing you in front of your wife. It's like, yeah, you're not.
well the problem is the wives knew. But
Okay.
it's kind of like when you're upper class, it's like, the things you do in the dark. Nobody really wants to know about those things. But Nettie's like, it's like, I don't want to sleep with Nettie because she's going to confront my wife and be mean to her,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, because of this, not a lot of people want to be her customer anymore. So she eventually became broke. So to kind of add up everything about Nettie, nobody wanted to marry her because she was too old.
It's like she's just thing after thing.
Well, it gets worse for Nettie. So not only has Nettie not been found marriageable because she's too old, she's too low class. All she's good for is sex, apparently. And then on top of that, she worked at the church, but she still felt like an outcast and decided to pimp herself out. Upon pimping herself out, she was apparently really good at her job because she was making a lot of money, but she was also a very confrontational woman. So, when she saw the people at church and those women were giving her mean looks, stormed right over. And those guys were like, I don't want to sleep with Nettie. So then she becomes penniless and she's had enough. She snaps and she puts on her white dress, or not her white dress, her red dress. She storms to that wrought iron balcony I told you about. And there was a storm brewing. And she stood on that balcony and she gave Charlestown a piece of her mind. She was screaming profanities. She was, talking about how disgusting the high classes were and how everyone is terrible and just, being nasty to everyone, right? The priest, remember the priest I told you about who was at the church? He came out and was, worried about her. And he's like, was like, hey, come on, let's get off the balcony. Let's talk about this. Let's chill out. Okay. Take a chill pill. Let's relax. Let's talk about this. And this is when the most badass thing you can say happens, followed by the most badass thing that can happen. Of course, it's sad what happened, but she was rumored to have screamed down at the priest and said, "You can't save me." And as she said that, a bolt of lightning struck Nettie dead.
Oh my. What? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I could see why she would want to hunt the place.
I know, right? I'm like, so the story of Nettie, like I said, I think this is one of the greatest stories because it's like you've got a country girl, like I could see this being a movie, like some Disney movie, like a country girl going out looking for her dreams. She became a prostitute and that didn't work out. And she got mad and she called out everybody. And upon calling out everybody, she got struck by lightning.
It is a just like the details, what she went through, the things that were said to her, the thing that happened to her, how she died, the lore of the hotel, all of it together. It's just quite the tale, quite the story.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I really like it, and I think Nettie's story is pretty good. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to find where I put this. Anyways, any thoughts, comments, questions while I look for our story?
Yeah, this place in South Carolina, you got John Wilkes Booth's dad, you got this Nettie character, you have the multiple times the buildings on that property would either be burned down or fall into disrepair, but then someone would always rebuild it. But it's just like a bunch of wacky stuff happened along the way. And I mean, it's no wonder that this place has become, presumably as haunted as it has been, So.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like the thing, like I said, is, let's See, sorry, I was trying to pull it up. That's the right one. Yeah, it's. I mean, like this. Like I said, the story with Nettie. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, if it's true what happened, and a lot of people did say this truly happened. I mean, it's. I mean, good on her. You know, like I know you died, but like great on you for standing up and telling them what's what. You know.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to, stand up, like that. And whatever her life may have played out, right? Like, obviously, she made some decisions that I don't think were good or right, but it's just like, hey, she stood up to powerful people trying to use their power, their wealth, their money to get whatever they want. And how many times has that happened in history, right? How many times has that happened now, right? So it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, good on her. I think she can serve it as an inspiration to many of, like, when you see great, powerful evil in your time, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think it's really sad though to think about the class system because I think that's like still like a thing. Like it's sad to think that the website I was researching it said this is still a thing in like modern Charleston, and it's sad to think that like today we still kind of like use a class system, or we're not all.
yeah, I was gonna say certain parts of the world. I know, I mean, especially in rural parts of India, but like even here in the U.S., a lot of these structures that have existed for centuries, it's gonna take a while for those to untangle. And yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that some of those realities are still playing a part today in a lot of societies,
Yeah.
including here in the U.S., in our backyard. So.
Yeah. So, without further ado, I will now finish this episode by reading the Dock Street Theater haunting story from me and Steven from our ghostwriter. All right. Dock Street Theater haunting, older than time. Are you ready? All right. The first cold spot hit us the moment we stepped through the wrought iron gates. Charleston in October still held onto that heavy southern humidity, but inside the old Planters Hotel turned theater, the air dropped like we walked into a meat locker. I adjusted the strap on my shotgun sling out of habit. Stephen gave me a look, one that I've learned roughly translates to "Easy there, cowboy." Well, this is an old building. There'd be drafts and possibly poor insulation, he muttered, adjusting the EMF meter in his hand. Not every chill is a ghost. I grinned, thumb brushing the grip of my pistol. Yeah? Well, you and I have been going on these escapades long enough to know that not every story's just a story, Stephen. So if there's any chance we come across Nettie Dickerson in her red dress on that balcony, or if, like others, we see her wandering the stage and upper levels, I'm taking my shot. Suit yourself, partner. We're alone after hours, courtesy of a skeptical but helpful contact who owed Stephen a favor from his lawyer days. Dock Street Theater, America's oldest, they say, built on layers of history, theater, hotel, brothel, ruin, and resurrection. The kind of place where the past doesn't stay buried. Our boots echoed on the wooden floors as we moved through the lobby. The grand staircase rose ahead, dark mahogany gleaming under our flashlights. Stephen kept checking his device while I kept my eyes on the shadows. We started on the main floor, sweeping the auditorium. The stage loomed empty, red curtains heavy and still. I set up the night vision camera while Stephen placed a digital recorder on the edge of the stage. Anything? I asked. He shook his head. Just baseline. If there's something here, it's quiet for now. We climbed to the second floor, where the famous wrought iron balcony overlooked Church Street. The air grew thicker, heavier around our bodies, and my skin prickled. I don't know, man. This one might be a fluke, I shrugged, waving my flashlight at the walls and taking note of the aging texture. With that amount of stats, there's just too much information from reliable sources. I mean, we'll keep searching. That's when we both heard a woman's laugh, soft and distant, like it came from the far end of the balcony. Stephen froze. Wind? Through closed windows? I countered, drawing my flashlight higher. The beam caught nothing but old plaster and shadows. We pressed on. The laughter returned, closer this time, accompanied by the faint rustle of fabric. I motioned Stephen toward the railing. Below us, the empty theater seats stared back like black eyes. The temperature plunged again, so much that my breath fogged visibly. Behind me, Stephen's EMF meter started spiking wildly. Will, he started, voice low. He didn't need to tell me. I could very clearly see the figure that materialized near the far end of the balcony. A woman in a tattered red dress, the fabric frayed and scorched at the edges. Her skin had an unnatural pallor, hair loose around her shoulders. She stood near the spot where legend said lightning took her, mid-storm, heartbroken, maybe drunk on sorrow, and whatever else the old hotel offered. Nettie. She didn't look at us. It was as if she'd barely even registered us standing there as she drifted along the balcony, fingers trailing the iron walk like she was searching for something. Or someone. Stephen whispered a prayer under his breath, gripping his cross. I kept the camera steady, heart hammering. Whether you believed in the supernatural or not, seeing with your own eyes was no ordinary experience. Then she turned sharply, her eyes holding mine. It was hollow, then sad, but not angry. Not yet. I could tell. Her screams came violent and sudden, tearing across the entire theater like howling wind. Steve and I ducked, protecting our faces with our hands as she continued. It wasn't a theatrical wail. It was a raw, electric cry that rattled the windows and made the balcony vibrate on our boots, a sound that carried the crack of thunder in it. Stephen staggered back, crossing himself. I raised the shotgun instinctively, but didn't aim. I bet it knew better now than to shoot at ghosts. Easy, ma'am, I said, voice steady as I could manage. We're not here to disturb your rest, just looking for a time. She tilted her head, as if hearing the words from far away. The red dress flickered like flame in a draft. Behind her, other shapes moved now, fainter, translucent figures in old-fashioned clothes. Actors, maybe. Lost souls who never left the stage. One of them stepped forward on the balcony. A man in period attire, his form flickering. Julius Booth? He'd caught my attention during the research, and the apparition behind me, though hard to make out, matched his description. Then again, it could just be another rehearser trapped in an eternal rehearsal. The air grew charged, like right before a storm. Nettie raised her arms, and sure enough, blue-white light danced across her fingers, echoes of that fatal lightning. I smiled despite myself as the temperatures dropped so fast my teeth ached. Stephen spoke up, voice calm despite the fear I knew he felt. Lord, if this is a lost soul, grant her peace. Nettie, whatever pain holds you here, it's time to let go. For a second, her expression softened. Then the scream died into a sigh that rattled papers across the floor. But something shifted. The other apparitions, they grew agitated, shadows lengthening across the walls. One of the sage ghosts lunged at us, not violent, but desperate, like they wanted an audience one last time. I stepped in front of Stephen, hand on my pistol. Back off. We're leaving. Nettie stared at me for a long moment. Then she turned and drifted towards the edge of the balcony, the red dress trailing behind her like smoke. She paused, looked back once, and faded into the wall near the spot of her death. The other figures dissolved with her, and the cold lifted slowly, replaced by the normal, musty theater air. I stood there in silence for a full minute. Stephen exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I don't know what to say, Will. That definitely felt real. More real than heaven? I teased, my grip still tight on my barrel. Don't push it. With a light chuckle, I clapped him on the shoulder, grinning from all the adrenaline still pumping. Told you, partner. Some stories got teeth. Well, in this case, lightning. We packed up our gear as the first hints of dawn touched the Charleston sky outside. The footage would be gold, clear sightings, audio of the scream, EMF spikes off the chart, pure discovery, and definitely one for the books. As we stepped back on the street, I glanced up at the balcony one last time. For just a flicker, I thought I saw red fabric moving against the ironwork. The Dock Street Theater kept its secrets, but tonight it shared a few with us. That's it. The end.
The end.
Dude, I'm telling you, I
You
love
know,
these stories.
the power
more
of
than,
prayer, man. The power of prayer.
I love these stories more than AI.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
AI
like,
can, throw stuff together, make a Frankenstein monster, but this has soul.
Oh yeah, and I love the dynamic between us because it's like when I tell the lady, right, like the way I tell her is this is what would happen to me and Steven. We're actually paranormal investigators and actually hunting ghosts and cryptids. You got me being the balls. I got the balls where I'm like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna hunt this thing. And then you got Steven, who's a little bit more wise and is a little bit less gun ho. But then like when you put Steven in danger, I'm the one that's like stepping right there and I'm like, hey,
exactly,
back off. We're going away.
We balance each other out. It's great.
Yeah, we got to. I mean, we're like yin and yang over here.
Nah, I like it. Great story. All right, as far as whether I believe it or not, I think I lean towards maybe, right?
I think like when you,
I don't know.
I'm not going to explain it again because, we're getting close to the end of the episode and it's a long thing, but go back on a couple of our episodes where I talk about this footprint theory. I think there could be something, like if the story of Nettie is true, we talk about the footprint where we leave something behind. Maybe Nettie's tragedy left behind such a scar that it's like Nettie's not there, but we can see what happened. That was like the thing that I liked about the story. It was like, that's what I liked about the story was like Nettie was like, we were actually talking to Nettie, but as for the other actors, it almost to me sounded like we asked Nettie, we would like your time. And by doing that, she kind of opened up a portal in a sense to show us the past, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, I think maybe the Dock Street is just a view into the past. What you think is a ghost is just an image, kind of like a camera where you're just watching a video of somebody just living their life like they did,
Absolutely, brother. I got nothing else. Thank you for that spooky tale. And yeah, I mean, it's not too far away. Maybe we go see it one day.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys again for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And be careful when you're standing on the balcony, for there's a storm brewing.